Lapalala Wilderness School by Local Studio. An award for excellence is given to the Lapalala Wilderness School, a project which speaks to the principle of exceptional architecture drawn from its own context. The expansive campus is highlighted at the main school, where rammed earth walls arise from the natural ground and clay-paved floors define indoor and outdoor learning spaces, living areas, food gardens, and recreational facilities clustered adjacent to the river's edge. There is a playful use of ramps that make the campus in its entirety universally accessible and give the feeling as though the placement of forms and paths grew organically from the natural environment. Here, the simple warmth of the material palette meets with considered design and detailing that reveal a deep sense of curating an immersive experience for the end user, and promoting the intention of the client to establish a wilderness school that celebrates the beauty of this region of our country and the potential of our people as its stewards. The project as a whole is simple and clear, and design is seen as a true driver for challenging the boundaries of conventional education spaces and producing opportunities for learning didactically through form within nature, and unconventionally through the offering of clever changes in level that create pockets for comfort and flexibility. The Lapalala Wilderness School conveys the need for architecture to expand and play with what is known toward what can be. Nike Shapa Soweto by C76 Architecture and Design. In a year where far too few projects that have contributed to the social or public realm of our country were received by the SIO Awards, Nike Shapa Soweto stands out as a true gem. The project, as an addition to that conceived in 2010, was devised reflecting on the context and viability of the site as at once a continuation of the bustling urban street and as a haven for its users. The clever reorganization of the landscape and additions and alterations to the architecture maximized its value to both client and end user, illustrating firmness, commodity, and delight through subtle making and engagement. The project speaks to the potential for synthesis between architecture, place, and brand, as the material palette of rammed earth, concrete, and greenery below become an undulating canvas to the casting of light and shadow from the steel canopies above that intertwine with an all-too-familiar 26-degree line synonymous with the Nike swoosh, drawing on the energy that is Soweto. Within, the building makes broad gestures and quieter nods in its knowing of its place and users, providing dynamic and vibrant space for becoming. There is a complete sense of the intention for this project to be both in and of the place, a celebration of Soweto and its potential through engagement and ownership. The humility in design and designer were felt, seeing the full site in action during the in loco inspection, and thus were unanimous in the decision to award an award of excellence to the Nike Shapa Soweto. The River Retreat, Camps Bay by Mark Thomas Architects. Retreat is defined as an act of moving back or withdrawing, and is no more fitting than used to name the project the River Retreat. Behind a seemingly ordinary suburban street front lay this considered, playful, and truly wonderful residential experience tucked into the site as nature allows. The project conveys the sense of wonder throughout, from the first moment across the street threshold as one steps foot onto the wood-chipped floor of the garden with the sound of rushing water removing any trace of the city around you, to the view ahead between the trees to a home with a timber-clad tower. Crossing the stream and beautiful garden and entering the home, one is met by the undeniable thought of making. It is crafted, and carefully so, acknowledging the skill of both architect and builder as craftsmen, celebrating recycled brick, slasto, and timber within a home that is of both mountain and sea. The extended internal volumes maximize the home's immersion into the natural environment through varied placements of openings that extend the living areas out, draw in the sound of the stream rushing, and afford views of the sea beyond. As one moves up through the main house and connecting across into the annexed tower, this consideration continues, revealing simple spaces that are given detailed thought and care to create places that envelope you in a knowledge that there is life beyond the city that is for both the body and the mind. This project demonstrates the maturity and richness of an architecture crafted of and for its place, a sustainable sanctuary for being, and is awarded an award of excellence. The Folly by Common Architecture. The Folly demonstrates to us the potential for architecture's capacity to explore between in the cleverest of ways. Here, too, does trust come to the fore as the client's brief and delivery of the architect marry as a meaningful inquiry into the limits of space as possibility, resulting in a simple line on a hill. It is here that the Folly rests, discreetly nestled within the natural landscape of the slope above the existing dwelling, framing the view of the ocean beyond. There is a sense of intrigue that builds upon approaching the unseen form through the lush garden, fusing natural and built environments. Once within, it alludes to the material palette of the existing dwelling, a nod to its distinctive design and reflecting a coastal way of living, as well as to the necessity for structure and purpose. Tucked into the sloping ground, the concrete surround is an unexpected and wholly immersive experience, elegantly met with black steel and brick, and offset by the warmth of timber. Elegance continues as the space makes use of both slope and wall to contain services and fittings that help render both specific purpose and endless possibility. The central space is bathed in natural light and air, drawn in from the gumpole shuttered light wells above that perhaps serve as the only visual marker of its presence. It is defined, a silent enclave creating the conditions for relaxation, introspection, and the pursuit of artistic and creative endeavors. The simplicity of the architectural gestures made, revealed here in a reduced material palette, render awe as one experiences the exploration of architecture within an existing residential site. An award of excellence is given to the Folly. Creating Coromandel, Marco Zanuso in South Africa. In searching for contributions to this round of submissions, the publication presents new research of an interesting project and story of its construction that brings to light new ways of reading architecture, typology, and landscape in South Africa. The publication is evidently well researched and brings to the fore the collaborative relationship and trust between architect Marco Zanuso and client in knowing the land, landscape, and natural environment. The author's analysis, dotted with archival imagery of photographs and drawings, aids in this understanding toward constructing a representation of what an architecture of the South African veldt could be in that time. Set during the postmodern era with regionalism abound in the post-colonies, the narrative depicts a searching for a definition of a South African architecture wherein, counter to what Zanuso is superficially recognized for in his modular and prefabricated industrial oeuvre, he opts to favor space, function, and location over that of technological construction toward a generative and formative design. What emerges is an organic conceptualization of architecture, a thoughtful response to space and identity of place. This publication, through a forgotten piece of the South African architectural legacy, emerges as a contemporary search for such definition, or perhaps definitions remain. Creating Coromandel packages rich, labored research as an in-depth, detailed monograph and more, and is awarded an award for excellence. Additions to Calling Academy Stellenbosch by Salt Architects. Here, the material choice is elevated in a muted design and material palette. The overarching canopy is seen as a connector of solid and void beneath, providing shelter and identity to the school so deeply invested in its local context. The additions to Calling Academy communicate a simple gesture, drawing from what is known and conveying the potential for what can be. The Coverland Award for Excellence, the first of its kind, is awarded to this project, not simply for its use of the material, but for the consideration taken by the architect to communicate the intention of the client throughout the built form. The school campus is now defined by a beautifully punctuated block screen wall that meets the line of the roof canopy above and hints at the space behind it. Once within, the changing light and capturing of the lush landscape beyond allow this core movement space to sing. Above, exposing the construction of the roof and drawing you down through the school buildings and into the main gathering space and sport field beyond. Internally, the school buildings speak through the muted material palette, affording simple and articulated planning for flexible learning and administration spaces. Threads by Kate Otten Architects. The brief invites the participants as practitioners working at the productive edge between architecture and its myriad others through methodology, materials, or matter, charting new territories of professional and conceptual relevance and urgency. An acknowledgement of the exemplary architectural merit within Threads was unanimous amongst the jury, and thus an award for excellence is offered for its response to the brief and contribution to notions of place and placemaking. What architecture can bring to the public in a city like Johannesburg and country such as our own. The architectural piece Threads intricately weaves the golden thread of Johannesburg's history into a multifaceted narrative. Beginning with a cosmic event 2 billion years ago, the installation skillfully integrates the meteorite's impact and subsequent gold rush, emphasizing a dangerous liaison between wealth and exploitation. Time and space are held in continuum, affording an experience that beckons to the core of what makes us human, at once a part of this place, this earth, and beyond. Using mechanisms of the tangible, mapping, drawing, and constructing, the idea, conceptual development, and design of the exhibition come from a gendered and conscious surrender of the hard confines of the constructed patriarchal world towards this soft sensibility of a simultaneous reality where crafting and collaboration richly intertwine.